Hi, I'm Marlon Bracha. The first time I did yoga, my interest was piqued. I knew that there was something really there, but it took me about 3 or 4 months to come back around and take that second class. After my first few yoga classes, my head was just turned completely around. I felt completely different in between the time when I was a dancer and the time that I did yoga. I didn't do any exercise at all. I wasn't interested in going to the gym. It seems like yoga does get a little competitive in the studios sometimes, but it's so important that what you really do is concentrate on focusing inward. That's where all the information comes from. I felt so much more sturdy and grounded in my body. That was immediate. But over time, yoga started to affect the way that I thought of life, the possibilities that I could create for myself. I changed the face of my life inside of 1 year. When you start to put yoga into your life, you start to have different considerations. You start to think of things in a different way, from a different angle, and it gives you so much more perspective. Once I had a regular yoga practice, I was able to move through so many issues in my life very clearly, very concisely, and I think that that's the most incredible tool that I can offer you with yoga, is that if you just do the postures, do the breathing, and just really let the magic of yoga take care of the rest of it for you. When people have a consistent yoga practice, they do sleep better, they don't seem to be as tense. I think what happens is that you start processing the events of your life very differently. The very first time you do yoga, you're going to finish the practice and stand up and go, my body feels different. My spine feels different. My posture feels better. I feel more relaxed. I think you'll feel that right away. Anybody can do yoga that wants to, but it seems like everybody wants me to tell them that it's going to be easy. Well, doing the postures, you put your hand here, you put your leg there, that's not difficult. What's not so easy is to treat yoga like a discipline, to actually integrate it into your life, to find the space for yoga in your life. When you do yoga regularly, that's when you really maximize all the benefits that you get out of it. In order to have a yoga practice in your life, I mean really in your life, you don't have to give up really anything. You don't have to be vegetarian, you don't have to be of a particular faith. I still do all the things that normal people do. I work, I go out, I have friends, I entertain, I go to movies, I do everything everybody else does. I'm not the kind of yogi that sits in a cave, but what I've done with yoga is I've taken it and I've integrated it into my life. It has a place in my life that is always consistent. Take a little bit of time and a little bit of discipline to bring the practice into your life. You do have to create a space for it in your life, but once you do that, you'll see that it's this great foundation. It's a place to come from, a place of inspiration. The more that you do yoga, the more that you can make your practice regular, the more techniques and postures and breathing that you can learn, the more that you have to draw from, the more resources you have. Doing yoga 3 or 4 times a week would be really great. At best, you'd want to do about half an hour of yoga every morning. That would be the best. Really what I do is I teach you the technique, but then you go with it where you want to. It's very important that, that we cultivate this idea of an inner teacher. After a while, you're really just listening to yourself. You're tuning in and you're listening to what your own intuition is telling you should be doing with your yoga practice. When people finally get around to the space where they integrate yoga into their life, they're amazed. They're amazed at how much better they feel, and they're amazed at how easy it was to just follow the directions and do the postures and do the breathing. The series is designed to fit into your life really easily. The practices are short. I start you from the absolute basics and then give you an opportunity to figure out what parts of yoga are you curious about? What parts of yoga do you want to learn about next? There are several DVDs in the collection. After you do the beginner one, you can really move on and say, yoga therapy is interesting to me, or I'm older, I'd like to do senior yoga, or, well, I really do have back problems, or I know somebody that has back problems. So there are a lot of places to go. As you work your way through the series, you can learn all kinds of different techniques that are really not being taught in the studios much at all. Some of my students have told me that they've always had back pain, and then after they started doing yoga with me, after really just a short while, their back pain just vanished. It just completely went away. Some of my older students have told me that they've got flexibility and strength they just never imagined that they would have again. One of my students told me that practicing yoga with me was actually a huge part of her recovery from a very serious illness. Yoga really changed my life. It's a technique where we use our body and we use our breath and we use our mind to help us move in the direction of our own choosing. I've been doing it for years, and I've watched my students really blossom, not just physically, but in their personal lives as well because of the practice. Really feeling energetic that I had after my first class. That's happening all the time now. Yoga's history goes back in India for 5,000 years, and there's every reason to really embrace it and bring it into our modern lives. It's still very significant. It's still very effective. What's important is to be present with yoga.